Hey, Sketch.
Hey Tay, so we just finished up episode 11 of Ranking of the Kings.
Older and younger brother, we get the story starting out with Daida's backstory, where we get to learn that Daida, despite being the younger brother, had to take on the role of the stronger older brother and protect Boji. Even Healing told him to be the stronger brother. As this flashback goes along, we go back to where he's at in the void, where he sees a child Miranjo on the ground, crying, being harassed. Some might even say lynched by a mob of people who are saying that she's a killer, a murderer, and she's killed countless lives. Daida, despite hearing this, goes to help Miranjo. And he discovers that the mob not only attacked Miranjo and is harassing Miranjo, but has cut off her hands and skinned her face. This is why Kid Miranjo wears a mask. And in the B plot, we learn a little bit more about this. But it continues on that Daida fights the mob until they disappear to protect Miranjo, and they go together to help each other get out of the void. You want to tell us about the B plot?
So the B plot, we learned that there is a prisoner in the underworld by the name of Odin. He's the Sword King who escapes. King Dacia is alerted to this somehow. He goes to his cell to go check. He finds that he's missing. So once he finds out he's missing, he calls his underworld knights to go recapture Odin and the rest of the escaped prisoners. Not only is he ordering his knights to go retake the prisoners, he's also ordering them to capture the kingdom boss because it is a civil war at the moment. The knight somewhat reluctantly agrees to this. It's very clear later on that he doesn't want to do this, but before he leaves over the kingdom boss, he takes up Boji. He takes Boji and Kage, and they leave for the kingdom boss. And or there we also see Healing.
Healing is also going to go fight.
Yeah, I don't give her odds very well.
Before we go over some great character moments, please hit that share button. We're trying to get to 10 views, a solid 10. We haven't done it yet. So really quick on the first great character moment. I've already mentioned this once. It's when Daida stands up for Miranjo. This really builds that Daida isn't a bad guy. He is fit to be king, and what Bebin and others saw in him is correct. It's just he has taken some missteps along the way listening to the mirror. But currently we can see that he does want to help the weak. He does want to protect his brother, and he was willing to go above and beyond to be a good person. But sometimes things aren't necessary to do as a king, and that's what we see in his character portrayal.
For my bit, I'm actually gonna pick up with Healing in armor, leading a small squad of knights into the to the castle. Are her odds good? No, but you know what? It does sort of double down on Healing's character so far in that she's willing to do anything for his sons. And right now she's leading it. She's willing to head the charge for Daida.
And on top of that, Daida had so much faith in her. He said to Miranjo in the void that, hey, my mom's gonna come and save us. Not just him, both of us, because Healing is that great of a person.
Has no idea how it's gonna work, but you know what? He has confidence in his mother.
And then another great friendship moment we saw is with Kage and him being the translator between Boji and the knights. So Boji says something, Kage tells the knights say something, and we know that Boji can read lips, but the knights are wearing masks and they're facing forward, and Boji's sitting behind him. So Kage goes out of his way to look at Boji so Boji can see him and tell him what they said. Again, great detail. It could have been easily missed if they just acted like we knew that Boji could hear him. I think very few people would have caught on that Boji didn't hear what they said because we're so used to Boji just knowing.
I mean, he reads lips so well that he might as well be able to hear normally.
Or read minds.
Or read minds.
Did you think there was anything missing in this episode?
This was a 100% just a build-up episode for the next episode for more or less the plot to happen. We get a lot of updates. We get an update on Hokuro and Domas, what they're doing. They're training out in the woods. We get an update on Healing, what the knights are going to do.
You know who we didn't get an update on? We even got an update on Apis and what he's doing. So the whole cast, we know where they're at. And I thought this is what this episode was missing is what's Bebin doing? We got him in the flashback, so we know the episode remembered him. But we have no idea if he's still in the snake den, if he's planning something, if he's working on something. I think this was a missed character opportunity to get the whole cast involved in this current upcoming war. And then the other thing I was very surprised about that seemed a little bit out of character was Despa actually being genuine.
He was a very genuine person. He didn't ask for any extra money. He didn't brag about his abilities.
He didn't ask for extra compliments.
No.
He just said, I know that you guys are thanking me a lot. You don't have to say anything else, Boji. Thank you. And really, Despa? Was it just due to limit of time? Did we miss out on a great Despa moment because of time limits? Or just to move the plot along?
Probably just to move the plot along.
We want to get Boji going and getting out of here. Overall, I think this episode is a peek at Miranjo's backstory. We get to learn a little bit of why she's in that puppet form, why she doesn't have hands and a face, and that she's wearing a mask. I don't know if it's a physical mask only or if it's also a symbolic mask that we haven't seen through yet because we haven't gotten her whole backstory. But we get to learn about Daida's compassion. And on the B plot,
we learn that war is coming to the Kingdom of Boss on orders from the Underworld King Daisha.
So overall, where would you rank this episode in the season out of 11 episodes?
It's one of the weaker episodes in my opinion. It's a setup episode. You can't really move the plot along for a setup episode because it's usually like, oh hey, a lot of things are going to happen. Here's all the players. We'll find out what happens next time.
I think this is the only episode it was better than was the first trip, where they set up Boji convincing Healing to let him go on an adventure, which was also a setup plot. But again, this is like a 9 out of 10 out of a bunch of 10 out of 10 episodes. There's very few plot holes. A lot of the plot is moving in the correct direction, and we're on a week-to-week basis. This would be super exciting to have to speculate what's going to happen the next week. Speaking of speculations, there's one character that I want you to do a little bit of predicting on. What do you think is going to be Hokuro's fighting style? Because he said he's going to develop his own separate from Damas. Also, he doubles down on Damas being a bad teacher, which I found hilarious.
You think that's the reason why Boji couldn't learn his fighting style earlier? Because Damas is just horrible at teaching?
I don't think it's Damas is horrible at teaching. Damas doesn't tailor his teaching to anyone but the one style he does.
Anyway.
I guess that makes him a horrible teacher. But let's go back to Hokuro. What do you think is going to be his sword style?
You know what we haven't seen that's very common in media? Sword and shield. We haven't seen a sword and shield user yet. We've seen a shield and shield user and a sword user.
I was thinking on the similar lines that he's going to have a unique set of weapons. My guess was he's going to go with the double daggers.
Double daggers?
Double daggers. I think Okuro's going to go take advantage of the fact that he's not the strongest, but maybe a little bit more on the stealthier, agile side and use the double daggers.
Just ditch the sword. Okay, that's an interesting prediction.
How about your predictions for the next episode? What do you think is going to directly happen right after this?
Oh boy, so Healing's in armor, she's ready for the charge, and boy howdy, when she gets there, she is going to be absolutely worthless. I do believe Healing is either, maybe not killed, but she's definitely going to get injured in the next episode.
I don't think Healing is going to get injured or killed. I think that every time she is brought in or is in near a vicinity of the episode, she is usually brought for one reason, and that is to heal. It's in her name. I think she's going to be the savior. She has not taken any real injuries this whole time, and I don't think it's going to happen. But my prediction is that boss, Daida boss, or like I like to call him, Baida.
Just say King Boss, man.
Is going to dominate all the prisoners.
Okay.
I mean, we already knew he was the strongest, so these prisoners showing up and coming to take him down, I don't think it's going to happen. We might see a unique scenario where one or two might be able to beat him or not, but I don't think they're going to win.
So, those are your predictions. Those are my predictions. What do you guys think?
And thanks for watching. Have a good day.
Laters.